Is there anyone who visited Japan? Some people. Is there anyone who wants to visit Japan but not yet? Okay, so you are in the correct place. I'll tell you in a while why I'm saying this. But in this session, we will talk about Zen of testing. So I have some socials here. Feel free to connect. And this is me. And we have several quality assurance challenges, right? And we will talk about how we can struggle with them, inspired by the Japanese philosophy. So this is why the session is called as Zen of testing. And Zen itself, I'll explain the meaning, but it is again embracing the Japanese philosophy and making some analogies to understand how we can reflect all those analogies to our daily life practices today. But again, to show you why getting some inspiration from Japanese philosophy is a good idea, this is a depiction of last 100 years of quality. This was a report published in World Quality Day in 2019, and it's in Quality.org. And if we see some milestones, a lot of them were initiated in Japan. Like, you might be aware, like Toyota is one of the locomotives in the quality assurance approaches. Not only Toyota, but a lot of Japanese scientists initiated a lot of quality approaches. So this is the base idea. Maybe getting some inspiration from those kind of Japanese philosophies and quality approaches might be a good idea for us. Again, coming to the meaning of Zen, it emphasizes direct experience, mindfulness, and the practice of meditation. It is coming from originally a Chinese word. You know, Chinese culture is has a really massive effect on all the other cultures. And in the contemporary usage, we can see simplicity and minimalism, mindfulness and awareness, harmony and balance, and discipline and focus. These kind of key terms is the milestones of the Zen philosophy. So we will see all of these in our daily practices later on. So what we will do in this session is, my first question in the beginning was, if you want to visit Japan, now you will do with me. Are you ready for this? We will have a virtual visit, maybe practically in a shrine, which is a type of temple in Japan. There are two different worship places, like the Shinto places called as shrine, and the Buddhist places called as temple. But more or less the same thing. So we will visit, and we will observe lots of things going around. And we will try to get some inspirations to reflect on our daily life practices. This is what we will do. So, let's get started. First, we are approaching to the shrine, and even before passing this huge gate, first of all, we see a fox in front of most of the shrines. You know why? Any ideas? It has a meaning. It is not randomly chosen. Because the meaning of fox in Japanese philosophy is they symbolize intelligence, adaptability, and transformation. Like, they believe foxes can take human shape. So that, for example, if you call someone, then they believe that there is a possibility that you are not talking to a real human. It might be a fox who is taking the human shape. So sometimes they open the call or start the call with a phrase over there. If you are maybe watching manga or anime, you might be familiar with this. They are starting the conversation with this phrase, moshi moshi or mosh mosh. The meaning is, it's a tongue twister for the foxes. So if the person or whoever you are talking with is a fox, then they wouldn't be able to pick up the call with mosh mosh. So if they are saying this, then you can understand that, okay, you are talking to a real human. And if you watch this movie, who saw this movie, 47 Ronin? A lot of people. So you should be familiar with this character, Mizuki, the witch of Lord Kira. So she was actually a fox, sometimes transforming into a human shape for different purposes. And why are we talking about the fox? Because we said they are symbolizing something, right? And how we can resonate on this and how we can reflect on our daily life practices. Be the messenger like a fox. Be the messenger of quality. Bridge the gap between the teams. If there are any silos, as the quality assurance person, talk to developers. Talk to product teams, product managers, product owners, to bridge those kind of gaps and be the messenger of quality. Advocate for the quality. Verification and human interaction, again, as one of the main purposes of the quality, right? Quality assurance. Transformation and adaptability, like testing sometimes must evolve alongside the updates, frequent updates, by doing regression and some other activities. Mystery and hidden layers, of course. We will talk about exploring those kind of hidden layers or some hidden steps in our scenarios as well in the later or next slides. And guardians of integrity. Of course, we are doing a lot of continuous integration and continuous delivery activities. So this will be one of our major tasks in our QA activities. Let's move on. Next is the Torii gate. This is the main gate that you will pass through to enter the shrine. And they are everywhere. Like, there are too many shrines or temples in Japan. And whenever you want to pass through, you have to see and pass through these quality gates or Torii gates, which we will call as our quality gates. So the meaning of these gates is marking a transition, right? When you pass through this, you are already making yourself ready for your visit, and you clear your mind, make up your mind, and start your visit by passing through this gate. So it's marking a transition. You can see there are several Torii gates, and they are, again, in all the entrance of the shrines. And again, we briefly already discussed, but the meaning of this is ensuring your readiness. Like before you take the decision to go or not to go, we need some quality gates, right? We don't let everything go in production. Whenever you make a commit or whenever you make a change, do you just let it go? No, of course you make some checks, right? You make some, you apply some quality gates, and if you realize there is something that needs to be improved, then you stop the release and first make the improvement, then let it go. So stop bugs, stop issues, vulnerabilities, and even for the code efficiency, not only the visible bugs for the end users, sometimes even the internal quality metrics we check, and if we need that some improvement should be done, then first apply it, then let it go. So make the release ready for this transition to go into production. Let's move on. Next is, after we pass through this gate, we see some maybe priest or some other people doing some origami. Origami is the art of handcraft by these papers. And you start with a simple paper, piece of paper. And finally, you come up with this kind of different shapes or objects. So this is the art of folding a paper. But of course, you apply some design patterns. As we do in our testing activities, right? For example, whenever we are crafting our test automation framework, it is like an art, right? You have to think smartly and design in a way in which you avoid having duplications, not repeated steps. Like, if there are repeated steps applied in all the test, maybe test cases, then move them into some fixtures, which is executed only before starting your suite, or maybe after the suite. So move those kind of repeated steps to avoid duplication. And design your test case in an efficient and smart way to make your code maintainable and maybe recoverable whenever you have some failures or some cases you have to fix. So you have to think about the long-term solution, and whenever there is an update in the code that you are testing, you have to fix the relevant update or change in your test code as well. So how easily you can apply those changes? If they are repeated in too many places, then of course there will be a more maintenance effort. But if you already design your automation framework in an efficient way or in a maintainable way, then it would be much more easier to apply those changes or updates. Moving on. Next, we continue our visit, and we see we have some more experiences. Like the next one is Ikebana, which is again an art of designing flowers by cutting we can reflect this as cutting waste in our modern practices, but in this art, you try to find the balance between simplicity and the precision. So, how we can resonate this in our daily life practices right now? Maybe sometimes we try to decide what to automate, right? 100% automation, of course, if you can go with this decision, but sometimes it is not the best choice to try to automate everything, right? If the features are not mature yet, if they are still changing a lot, then maybe no need to automate right away. Just wait a little bit for those features to be mature enough, and then you can automate those features. So again, try to find a balance between simplicity and precision. And use resources as efficient as possible. So this is a part of risk management. Moving on, the next principle that we can get some inspiration is Kaizen. It is a continuous improvement, right? Kaizen is applied in most of the quality approaches nowadays. And it improves some disciplines like usability, maintainability, robustness, bug management, and requirement feature efficiency. So we can apply continuous improvement in all our processes. Like, just monitor your processes, and whenever you realize there is some improvement rooms, then just go, try, and check if it works. That's the PDCA or PDSA, right? Plan, do, check, and act cycle. So this is the one discipline that we can apply in terms of maintaining continuous improvement. Moving on, Chado is the tea ceremony. So Japanese people do this in a way, in an elegant way. Like if I just talk to my friend and if we agree, let's go and have a cup of tea. Okay, let's go. Right, this is simple. But tea ceremony is not like that. It is really a ceremony, and it has a procedure. So even the clothes that you wear are not normal, usual daily life clothes, so you have to wear a kimono. And wearing it is really difficult, like it takes maybe 1 hour or longer. So you have to make yourself ready and spend some time, proper time for this, and do the proper preparation. And why we do this? Why do we need this? Because, again, it is about clearing your mind and preparing yourself for the activities that you are supposed to complete. Sometimes we are maybe thinking like, too busy, right? We don't need a rest, or maybe it is not time to take a rest right now. There are things, a lot of things waiting to be finished or accomplished. But sometimes taking a break might require some time to reserve for this, but in the long term, it will return as a huge investment for preparing for the next activities. Because like maybe those kind of breaks to think about some improvements will, in the long term, pave the way for doing something in more efficient ways, right? Sometimes really stop whatever you are doing and take a break to think about improvement rooms. Not always rush for whatever we are doing or in whatever way we know to do things. Let's move on. What we see inside the shrine is, the next thing we see is Zen gardens. So Zen gardens look something like this. They represent the mountains and the oceans. Like the mountains and the water, let's say. And it's not real water. Actually, the sand is representing the water and rocks representing the mountains. Because they are not using the real water because it encourages your imagination. Again, like a philosophy of meditation. And how we can resonate this idea into our practices is, the idea is clearing the environment, right? Making this environment ready and isolated. Like we can apply this in our maybe test execution environments or even the tools that we are using to collect different data to improve the visibility and the transparency of your processes. Right? For example, whenever you collect bugs, raise tickets, then of course fixing the bugs is already a huge improvement step to add value into the product. But in the long term, not only fix the bugs, but also collect those evidences. And once you try to go back and analyze all the previously recorded bugs, you can study what kind of bugs you had previously, or in what frequency, what types of bugs you are having. So try to do some data mining. And if you realize some similar types of bugs coming again and again, then maybe there is something you can improve in the testing activities or in the steps that you are applying for your verification and validation activities. But to do this monitoring activity, of course, you have to make your tools and processes transparent and visible. Because if you cannot access to the data, then you cannot do these data mining activities. So making your environment ready for this monitoring and analysis activities is the key idea that we can get inspiration from Zen gardens. Let's move on. Especially the Christmas nights, on the Christmas nights, Japanese people try to eat some noodles, maybe ramen noodle, udon, or any other type of noodles. Anyone likes noodles? A lot of people. You know why they are trying to eat noodle, especially on the Christmas nights? Any idea? Because they believe, noodle is long, right? They believe if they eat on that night, then they will have a long and healthy life. So, what is the inspiration that we can get? Letting our test cases or the test activities have a long life, right? In what way? Again, designing or planning them in a maintainable way. Moving on. One of the next observations we have is, at some point in the shrine, someone was doing an art which is called as kintsugi. The idea of kintsugi is embracing the imperfections. We are not perfect. It's okay, just embrace it. And It is mostly applied on the pottery, like especially when something is broken at your home, you just don't throw it away. What you do is try to fix it. But especially in this art, try to fix with some gold, not something simple. Because we really value those imperfections. This is the part of our life. And what this reminds to us is imperfections are maybe the failures we have in our executions, right? And why our test cases fail? Most of the time we have some test smells, some reliability issues. Maybe the test fails where it was supposed to pass. The feature is working as expected, but the test is reporting a failure. So it is not a real bug, but it's a false alarm. On the other hand, if the test is passing where it was supposed to fail, then it is again a reliability issue, right? Because normally the feature is not working as expected, there is an issue, but the test just passes. It does not notify me about the failure or about the issue or the bug. So it's a silent horror case. So these two aspects of this diagram are the reliability issues, and potential causes for these kind of reliability issues are most of the time some test smells, like maybe the flakiness of the test, or a fragile test, or there are dozens of types of test smells. Moving on, Ronin is a special type of samurai in Japan. It is a masterless samurai. Whenever their master passed away, or maybe they just became somehow, for some reason, masterless, then those samurais are now ronins. And they start a journey to start in an independent way, relying on their skills and intuition to find a maybe new master or some new meaningful purpose for their next activities. So any idea about how we can reflect this analogy to our daily life practices? Journey, try to observe what's going around and try to find some meaningful observations. Thank you so much. So exploratory testing, right? And why is it important? Because from a report, we can see 11% more defects are found during exploratory sessions. And 29% of them are more evident defects, like maybe some visible bugs on the UI or some other more evident defects. And 33% of them are more complex defects, maybe not easy to detect in regular testing sessions. And it's a type of experiment, right? Just try to observe, just try something and try to observe how the system behaves under these kind of different circumstances. Like shoe test, or just like imagine you are leaving a cat on your keyboard and how the system reacts after these kind of inputs. Okay. I have very short time, but I'll wrap up soon. Next is bonsai trees. The idea now is try to grow these trees from early stages, like when the trees are very young, you already start taking care of them, and eventually bonsai tree take the shape you want. But the key is again start early. So it's obvious, right? Shifting left as early as possible. Next is calligraphy, the art of writing with ink. And this analogy we can use for reflecting into our documentation tasks. When I say documentation, it is not only writing a single text, right? But any kind of documentation. It might be the logs, traces, screenshots, the dashboards you prepare, and several metrics you collect to understand what kind of experience the users are having. So, we complete our visit, and I shared 12 analogies to you, which we can resonate into our daily life practices. So now I have a challenge. Is there anyone who can list maybe at least 10 of them? Like, first one was a fox, right? Kintsugi. Ronin. Bonsai. Ronin. What's it? Noodle. Tea ceremony. Calligraphy. Ikebana. Zen garden. I think you are almost there. Tiago, I have a Japanese candy for you. And yeah, let's remember all of them. Be a messenger of quality. Bridge the gaps between teams, like a fox. Build your quality gate, like a Torii gate, to mark your transition, to make your product ready to go into production. Design, like doing origami. Try to find the balance between simplicity and precision. Balance and harmony, like Ikebana, the art of arranging flowers. Continuous improvement, like Kaizen. Take a break, like having a tea ceremony, to clear your mind. Think about improvement rooms, to have something in return in the long term. Prepare like Zen gardens. Make your environment visible and transparent and isolated. Longevity, like noodles. Remove test smells, like doing kintsugi. Embrace your imperfections and try to fix them instead of neglecting them, right? Embrace them and try to fix. Exploratory test, like a Ronin doing his journey. Shift left, like growing a bonsai. Start as early as possible. And document, like doing a calligraphy. So, who knows what Ikigai means? Purpose of life. Purpose of having a meaningful life. And we can draw our quality Ikigai by combining lots of values of quality assurance. And finally, some cookies for people interested in Japanese philosophies and, in general, Japanese culture. And thank you so much. And if we have time, I'm happy to answer the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mesut. Well, let's see if we have any questions. How can we arrange Zen when our test fails and it's not an actual product defect?
Yeah, that's the challenge. Try to understand the cause of the failure. Like, is it stemming from the product itself or something related to our test cases? So if it is related to product itself, then there is nothing to fix in the test, right? So just report it and try to ensure that it is fixed.
Okay, Bruno. Which type of ramen is your favorite?
It depends. Like in summertime, you can have cold noodle, and I like udon the most. But in wintertime, warm noodle, of course. Ramen is my favorite.
Okay. Do you base your test policies in these wisdoms?
Base your test policies. Oh, yeah. I mean, of course, it doesn't work like, okay, let me build a test strategy based on this. But it works like you get some inspirations from different points. You make your test strategy, and of course, there will be lots of points. You will align those philosophies into your strategy. But I mean, normally you don't go like, okay, let's build a strategy based on this. It works in the other way around.
Okay, and your last question is how to adapt to the Japanese market.
I mean, Japanese market is another story. It is a little bit tough. But of course, having a sense of local understanding or the expectations of the local people would be the key point to start, I believe.
Okay, answer this really quickly, please. Do you integrate also mindfulness techniques into your daily work?
Yeah, of course. I think this is one of the key strategies of testing or in general quality assurance. Like mind about end users, mind about other parties, even the developers, mind about everything else. Have an empathy and have this idea of mindfulness. I think this would improve your work a lot.
Thank you very much once again for your presentation.
Thank you.